So yeah, I think quite a few of us are faced with the dilemma of changing our degree or to not change our degree and to literally just continue studying and push at it until the very end. And you know what? I want to help you guys a bit in that decision process. I want to help you guys sort of make better informed decisions, because a lot of the time the decisions that we make today in our youth while we're still young do have an impact on sort of the future and what goes on in the future and our ability to sort of reach our goals, our ambitions, and all that stuff. So I'll just help you out a bit here, and I think sort of get you guys to a point where you can consult and make better decisions around whether to continue or whether you shouldn't continue. So I think in beginning this, I'm going to start out with a very important point, super important, and every single person who is considering changing their degrees to another degree, it's so important that you get a second point of view on the matter, and I think an informed point of view as well. The best person that you can speak to here is your faculty student advisor, or an advisor within the faculty that sort of helps students sort of navigate various dilemmas that they may have. And perhaps if your institution doesn't have a faculty student advisor, just chatting to lecturers within the degree that you're switching from and the sort of qualification or area that you want to switch to as well is so advisable, guys, because you cannot make a decision if you don't have all the facts, if you don't have all the circumstances, if you don't sort of have an overall arching view of exactly what's going to happen when you move to the new one, or what's going to happen if you don't, the implications, all that stuff. And I think these people will really help you in sort of getting to that understanding, and just for yourself, really just equipping you with all the necessary information and tools to make the right decision. So I must encourage you all, please do chat to them before you make a final decision, before you consult your parents. So important for you to do this. So I think also it's important for us to be a bit realistic when we are making these decisions. I think a bit of realism is very important, and trust me, I am one who in the past haven't been completely realistic with things, and I think it's a lesson that I've learned over the years, in that sort of a lot of the decisions that we make need to have some form of realism and just sort of being down to earth and understanding the environment that we're in. And when I say this, I mean, look at your sort of circumstances, look at your sort of situation, and look at everything around you to assess whether it actually is possible for you to change degrees, for you to move over to a new qualification, for you to sort of make that decision. And when I say this, I'm going to give you guys some things to sort of consider in making this sort of decision. Then the first one is funding. Who are you funded by? Is your funding restricted in the sense that if you leave this qualification, you won't be funded again? And of course, if you aren't funded, who's going to pay for your studies? Are you able to pay? Is your family able to pay themselves? Are you guys financially that stable? Or perhaps would you have to look for other funding? How easy is it to find other funding? So I think anyone who's funded with a bursary or anything NSFAS, you need to understand the implications of you leaving your current qualification and perhaps going to another one with regards to your funding, because that's an important consideration, guys. I think we do need to be realistic in terms of that. And I think also another thing that we need to consider is job opportunities, because we are in a country where it's extremely difficult to get jobs, and to sort of get long-term employment, and to sort of start building that life for ourselves that we all seek. So it's so important for you to also just consider in terms of your prospects at getting employment. How likely are you to get employment with your current qualification versus perhaps the one that you want to switch over to? Because this is sort of something that you also just have to consider, something that just has to be within the back of your mind. I'm not saying it should drive all decisions that you make, but you need to have this. You need to consider this. This is very important because we need to understand that we live in South Africa, and perhaps if you aren't sort of that affluent or rich back home, if your family is not super rich, then perhaps you do need some form of employment just to help sustain you so that you can sort of build yourself and perhaps even provide for your family back home. So also just consider that. Super important. And I think another thing that we need to consider is, do we have the necessary marks or entrance criteria to allow us to switch over to that different qualification? Have we looked at the criteria that we need to meet to switch over, and do we meet that criteria at this current point in time? Because you can't want to switch over if you don't currently meet the criteria. Maybe there's a bit more work that you need to put in there. Maybe you need to sort of improve your marks. Maybe you need to take up a few modules before you move. So you need to have an understanding of that as well, and sort of help you get that better frame of mind to understand whether you are in a position to sort of move over, or if you're not. I think these three considerations are quite important to sort of consider within your mind before sort of just making that jump, just bringing yourself back to reality and understanding your current situation and assessing, sort of based on that. And I think as well, something that's important for us to consider is, you shouldn't really switch if you feel the qualification is too difficult for you. Obviously, this is something that you have to assess for yourself. But if you feel perhaps, it's difficult or it's not easy and you want to do something easier, I don't think that's a valid reason for you to switch. Because, often we're going to be faced with challenges. No matter what you do, there will always be challenges. We just need to get over those hurdles, get over these obstacles, and try not to find the easy way out where it's possible. Because, throughout our lives, we're going to have to face challenges, face them head on. You can't always run away from challenge. You can't always run away from things that are difficult. They will always be there in life. That's just literally the nature of life. But in saying this as well, it's a different case, a different story if perhaps your chances of getting a degree would be a bit better in another qualification. Perhaps you're seeing that this qualification isn't for you because you've repeated a few times or whatever, and you feel that you'd be better able to succeed in another qualification. I think that's a different story now. But once again, this is an assessment you have to make for yourself, and I think more importantly, with the guidance of your faculty student advisor, your parents as well, and just people around you. It's important that you make this sort of decision with those around you. And this leads on to my next point, is use your support structure in making this decision. Don't try and make a decision solely by yourself and then take that as a fact and move with that decision. You need to consult the people around you. You need to consult your support structure. Consult your friends, consult your parents, consult the student faculty advisor, consult your lecturer. Get different perspectives on this sort of issue that you're facing. Get different views, different insights, so that you can make, once again, a better informed decision. Because this whole process is literally about collecting data so that you can make the best decision possible, so that you can sort of be better guided by all the information you have to get to that point where you make a great decision. So the aim is to get to that point where we have enough information to make the best decision possible. And I think in saying this, it's also important to understand that you'll never be able to tell before you get into a sort of decision that you've made, whether it's going to be the right one or the wrong one. I think we all really try to make the best decisions. That's as much as you can do. But Also, don't be too scared of making the wrong decision, because at the end of the day, your role, your job with the people around you is to make the best decision possible with the evidence that you have. That should be your aim. So don't over focus too much on I don't want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to make the wrong decision, because this sort of clouds your judgment now. But you need to just be rooted and focused in making the best decision possible with all the sort of evidence, knowledge, data that you have, as well as using the people around you. I think that should be your focus in approaching this, and in better understanding your future and better understanding your prospects and what's best for you. So yeah, I thought I just touch on these things. I wanted you guys to consider all these things before you jump and move into a different qualification, or before you sort of start making those decisions. I just really wanted you to consider all these things, consider all angles. Of course, it is important for you to pursue the thing that you want to pursue and to pursue your passions, but just consider all these things, and use all these resources at your disposal as well. There's so much that you have to your advantage, and don't rush into the decision. Don't rush, just take your time with it. Make an informed decision. Don't jump at something that you'll later regret. Just take some time, think, consult everyone, collect data, collect knowledge, and make an informed decision. So I hope this helps you. If you're considering perhaps changing degrees, or if perhaps it might be a thought that's in the back of your mind, maybe when you make that decision later on, you'll have these sort of tools and these things that you need to think about before you go and make that decision. So yeah, guys, I really hope this has helped. If it has, please just drop a like on the videos always, and please do subscribe to the channel. Yes guys, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We want to see how fast we'll get there. We will definitely get there eventually. So please do drop a subscription, and until the next one, guys, let's continue on our journey in creating a better world.